We are here with Scarlett Grace, one of the most extraordinary Canadians I've seen for several reasons. She's a great musician. She sings from her soul. She tells a story with her song. But actually, the way I got to have her on my radar is when I saw her brave stance against anti-Semitism. So it's great to see you, Scarlett, and thank you so much for taking the time to talk.
Well, thank you for having me.
So you really, your career path is music. You love singing. I've seen you sing Eden Golan and Hurricane and your own songs. And at the same time, in addition to being a great musician, you're in Canada. You speak out against anti-Semitism, and people ask, "Wait, are you Jewish?" And the answer is no. And so the next question is, why are you speaking out?
Um, when people often come to me, usually my friends that I've known for a long time, they'll come to me and they say, "Why do you care?" And my answer is just, "Why don't you?" I don't get it. That being said, like I've always been somebody ever since I was a kid who just stands up for what they believe in. It's just like in my blood. I don't know why. I've always been very mouthy, like to stand up against things that I think are wrong. But this one to me is so profound. It's so like almost dystopian what's happening, the way that we've just receded like 80 years in time. Um, I don't know why more people aren't speaking up. Like, did we not learn our lesson when we learned about the Holocaust? We're seeing history repeat, and I don't know why more people don't care. I feel like I'm just being normal.
It's exactly what I would expect of Canadians. My family came to Canada after World War II. My grandmother was a teacher on Vancouver Island for more than 40 years. And we always knew a Canada that's always like not just fine and polite, but extra fine and extra polite, and not just kind and caring, but extra kind and caring. So much so people made fun of Canadians for that. They're like, okay, these guys are too nice. And I think a huge shock to me and to many people in my family has been the wave of anti-Semitism, which has been really overwhelming, but then the silence from so many people we thought would speak out has been just so shocking to us. So it's amazing to see you speaking out, but why do you think we don't see more people doing the same?
Well, a couple things there. I think that the reputation that Canada has for being kind and polite and whatnot, I personally think that's a bunch of BS. Maybe it's different over on the West Coast, but I mean, over here in like Toronto and stuff, I don't think it's true. I think what Canadians are passive, and I think that that gets mistaken for kindness. But really, we are a passive people. We're not revolutionary like the French. We don't have freedom running through our veins like the Americans do. We're just kind of like, eh. Um, and that's a huge problem I've noticed, not just with anti-Semitism, but with a lot of issues going on in Canada, is that people just don't seem to give a um I mean, we can't even get Canadians to stand up for our own rights, let alone the like 1% of the Jewish population that we have here. If we can't even get people to stand up for Canadians and their own rights, how are we going to get them to stand up for the Jewish people regarding a conflict happening in the Middle East? I just don't see it happening with these types of people. And it's sad to say, but I also think that we have a huge problem with the media in Canada and the narrative that it spews, and the source of that being their funding, the Liberal government, and their stance on everything. So we know where Carney stands, we know where the Liberal government stands. That's where our news stands, and that's what most people are consuming still on a daily basis.
It's interesting when you compare the like political divide on anti-Semitism in the US versus in America. To
Mm.
me, one of the things that stands out is that in the United States, there are many evangelical Christians and like people who are just, regardless of policy, they're dedicated. Like Israel's on their mind, anti-Semitism is on their mind. There's also the whole like far right anti-Semitism rising now, but you have a solid like evangelical against anti-Semitism base. In Canada, I don't know if it's for religious reasons or other reasons, you don't have that same tide even like it's amazing to see Pierre Poilievre and others speak out against anti-Semitism, but you don't have the same kind of like evangelical base that you can always know will speak out against anti-Semitism. Do you see that as a religious thing, a political thing? Like, why isn't there that mirror image?
I think that Canadians are more politically influenced than they are religiously influenced. I can't speak for everyone, obviously, but just on my own experience, I see people a lot more influenced by what is happening in the media than whatever their religious beliefs are. I don't know how much of a core religious, you know, belief is part of Canadian identity anymore.
Mhm,
For me, I grew up Catholic. I don't necessarily identify that way anymore, but I grew up Catholic, and it was just a given that we stand with the Jewish people and we stand with Israel because without them, Catholicism, Christianity wouldn't exist.
mhm,
There's no Christianity without Judaism, and we see them like as an extension of ourselves, as the basis.
mhm,
So it's always been a given to stand with the Jewish people with my background. But yeah, I can't really speak for other belief systems, but I don't see a lot of strong faithed people in Canada
mhm,
anymore.
mhm. Now, you've spoken out against anti-Semitism. You've been very brave, and you can argue, okay, maybe others are not that brave. Maybe they don't want to pay a price. Was there a price to pay? Did you see that once you spoke out against anti-Semitism, did the mob come for you? Was there, is it scary to speak out against anti-Semitism in Canada?
Well, for me, it's not so scary because I'm kind of used to it. Like I've been running my mouth for a couple of years now. Like for me, it started in 2022 when I was protesting against like lockdowns and stuff. And when I was doing that, that's when I kind of lost like my crowd, my people of the last 10 years or so, like everybody I'd known in my 20s through the music scene, which is very, you know, radically left inclined. So I'm kind of already used to having people fall off and the hate and whatnot just from doing that. Um, but yeah, I mean, definitely whenever I speak out for Israel, I totally get attacked online and all that.
Mhm,
And I understand how that's really hard for the average person. And I don't expect yeah, I don't expect that to be something that's easy for everybody to do, but I also think that it's kind of a moral obligation to stand up for what's right,
mhm,
regardless of the backlash. Because in the end, if you're just speaking out online and you're using your voice, which everybody has, regardless of the size of your platform, you could have 20 followers, 200, 2,000. Regardless of that, everybody has a voice. And I think
mhm,
everybody should be using it to stand up for what's right. You don't have to go out in the streets with a flag and risk physical harm like I do. I'm not asking you to do that. I think everybody should do that. I think everybody should be standing with me. But you don't have to do that to make a difference. You just
mhm,
have to stand up for what's right at the dinner table, in your Facebook groups, and in whatever it may be. Um, the real problem is staying silent.
mhm. Wow. Those are words I wish every Canadian heard. Uh, do you see any feedback from the Jewish community when you speak out? Have you gotten other people saying like, "Wow, thank you for speaking out"?
Totally. The Jewish community has been such a blessing in my life and something I never expected. They're kind of like this whole new family, this whole new community
Mhm,
that I'm in, even though I'm not Jewish. And it's something I never expected either. I never, went out seeking, these great people in my life, but they've really embraced me. And no, the support is wonderful. And that's not why I do it, but
mhm,
it's definitely, it's brought me a lot of new people in my life. It's been great. Yeah.
mhm. Wow. Uh, the sort of anti-Semitic pro-Palestinian line has been very strongly in the past 2 years, like, oh, we're not anti-Semitic, we're only against Israel. Yeah,
Anti-Zionist,
right,
yeah.
we're just anti-Zionist.
When
That
97% of Jews are Zionists and Zionism is intrinsic to Judaism as far as I understand. But yeah, okay.
right, but you would think that they would like follow up on that bluff that they're selling. And so when you see synagogues and daycares and Jewish schools firebombed and shot at in Vancouver and Montreal and Toronto, you would think that the anti-Zionist crowd would be like, oh, okay, here's what we'll stand with. We're only against Israel. We're not against these synagogues. And yet that didn't happen, meaning the people who claim to be
Because they
anti.
even know they're lying. They even know that it's a mask. They even know that
Mhm,
it's what they say to be accepted, widely when it's a bunch of BS. And people are so emboldened these days. They'll have kind of the fringe of them being like, "Oh, we're not anti-Jew. We're just anti-Zionist and colonialism and whatever buzzwords they use."
mhm.
But the majority of the hate that I get online is not just saying, "Oh, we're not against Jews. We're just against Zionism." It's people saying like Hitler was right and
Wow.
like the worst things imaginable. And it's gotten worse because there are absolutely no repercussions for this. Nobody's going after hate speech. Nobody's condemning Jew hatred on a mass scale. Our prime minister certainly isn't. So it's just getting worse and worse. And I'm finding that the crowd that is saying it's Zionists we're against, it's not Jews, is getting smaller and smaller. And more of them are just saying, F the Jews. They're not
Wow.
even hiding it anymore. It's just getting worse and worse.
Wow. And so I understand sometimes like there's a situation where there's been a lot of immigrant communities that come from specifically anti-Semitic countries, countries that like Iraq or whatever that ethnically cleansed Jews in the 1940s, 50s. That's one story. But then when you have like ordinary Canadians going along with it, where does that come from? Where does it like the like this was not on my bingo cards. Like, how is it that so many fine Canadians just suddenly bought this whole thing? All right.
I think that one of the major problems is that universities these days are indoctrination stations and they are very politically motivated and they're very biased. And a lot of the things that they're teaching our young people is colonialism is bad and Israel is colonial is a apartheid, all that BS that we hear over and over and over again. It's not just stuff that we're hearing online. It's coming from the teachers, from the professors, from the schools. Um, and there's a lot of tying the issue of Israel into issues that people understand in Canada. Like it's really unfortunate that it's been kind of tied into the Indigenous issue here too. And a lot of Indigenous people have been deceived into believing that the Palestinians are Indigenous to the land of
Mhm,
Israel, which in fact they are not. It's completely a narrative that was made up in the 1960s. But nobody has the attention span to look into that themselves. They hear the
mhm,
buzzwords, they hear the colonialism, and the colonialism is bad, and oh, we're going to stand up for Indigenous people here, we're going to stand up for them there. And everybody's a lazy thinker these days. And it's
mhm,
easy to see a picture or a video of a child suffering that might not even be from that area and react to that and go march in the streets for that instead of using your brain and wanting to learn.
mhm. Why do you? No, sorry. I've spoken to Canadians who are Jewish Canadians who are in Canada for five, six generations. They've known Canada for a while, and many of them, if not most of them, question if Canada is going to be a place where their children, grandchildren can live safely. What are your thoughts for people who are raising children now and thinking like, what is the future of Canada? I mean, like, I want my kids to survive this. Is this just a fad, a season, or is this a long-term problem?
I don't like to be pessimistic, but I also like to be realistic. And I think if things remain on the trajectory that they are, that it's not going to be a safe place for Jewish people. Um, it, I mean, it isn't now, and it's just getting worse and worse. And even if we were to get a new leader who was more influential in favor of Jewish people, the people who have come out against Jewish people and who have openly hated them so much, how would we dial that back? How would we make them go back into their cages and stuff? Like damage done and damage getting worse. Um I'm not Jewish, but it's and I don't want Jewish people to be afraid. I'm not trying to fearmonger. I
Hmm.
want Jewish people to go out and wear their Magen Davids and be proud of who you are and your background. I think that's so important. I also think it's important to stay safe. But uh, I think that what's happening now is only getting worse, and it is only reaffirming why the existence of Israel is so important. And yeah, I think it's important for Jews to be safe, but I think it's also important for you to not hide your identity and to be proud of that if you want to ever see the streets being safe for Jewish people again. You can't hide.
Hmm. Wow. That's a bold and tough reality to deal with. Is
Mhm.
there, speaking again about sort of the like silent majority of Canadians, is there anything you think can bring Canadians to say, okay, like we will not tolerate this kind of hate. We won't. Is there anything that's going to wake those polite or whatever it is that you want to call it, lazy? Uh,
Mhm.
is there anything that can wake them up?
I don't know if there's anything that can make them take action or do anything. Because I mean, complacency is almost a way of life. But I think on our part, the people who are awake and the people who do want change and do want to stand up for what's right, I think it's really important to spread the truth everywhere we go. And not just, go out and say that anti-Semitism is bad and Jew hatred is bad. I think it's important to get information out there
Hmm.
and dispel the lies because there's a lot going on right now, especially right now with the whole narrative that Israel's blocking aid and blah blah blah.
Hmm.
Spread the truth. Share the videos that disprove that. Share as much as you can, whether you have a big platform or not. I've said this before. It's just get the truth out there. Anybody can do it, whether it's on social media, postering, stickers, whatever it be, is try and get the truth to people because again, most of these people are watching CBC every night and we know we're not getting the
Hmm.
truth from there.
Wow. I guess to me and many Canadian Jews, it's the shock is personal, and it's kind of naive because there's Jews who lived through Germany and they saw their neighbors turn on them like this. Uh,
Mhm.
like my grandmother, would feed any child in the neighborhood that was hungry, and kids knew they can just hang out in her house. And like the expectation, there's actually even I'm not going to name anybody, but there's actually someone in the NDP who was raised by my grandmother like a child
Hmm.
when she was a child. And the shock of discovering that when there's such a wave of anti-Semitism, some of those people are just not going to say anything has been like extraordinary.
Mhm.
Anything you think, is there anything that wouldn't go through Israel? Is there anything that would be like, hey guys, your Jewish neighbors, whoever it is, classmates, don't see a future for themselves in Canada because of this hate? Is that something that you think would wake people up, or it's doomed as long as things are in conflict with Israel?
Uh, I think that the libel against Israel is too strong right now for the lazy thinkers
Hmm.
to really sway them. Again, it's just about trying to get the truth to them. Um,
And there's
you
no way
know,
they would be like, okay, whatever's happening in Israel and the Middle East, that's that. But currently speaking, Jewish Canadians are not safe, or that's not going to happen.
I don't think people care. I know that's horrible and so pissing. I just don't think people care. I think that people are radicalized and I think that people enjoy going along with the crowd. They enjoy belonging to something, like
Hmm.
be it the pro-Pally marches or even just the ideology that is spread so rampantly. I think that things like that are more enticing to the average person than being like, hey, maybe I'll look at it this way. Hey, maybe I'll do that. I mean, I always think you can try and reach people's
Hmm.
humanity, but it's just, I mean, we've seen it for 2 years now.
Yeah, it's
W-
interesting. In the US, there's an organization, and it's tied also to the work Robert Kraft from Boston does, where they have billboards and ads against anti-Semitism specifically,
Hmm.
and they don't change people's minds on Israel. And it appeals to people's fineness. There was this Super Bowl ad about a woman who comes home and there's a swastika and she's with her daughter, and the neighbor comes and cleans it while the daughter's looking away. And it's all about these like good neighbor situations, but that
Hmm.
doesn't seem to be
Hmm.
working. And so, like you're saying, it does seem to be the mob mentality that, they're just
Yeah,
going
it would
with
have to
whatever it
be
is.
done, I think, on such a massive scale, like an ad like that or something. It would have to be like absolutely everywhere for people to be like, oh, maybe this is another way to think about it. But
Hmm.
the mob mentality is so huge, it's so rampant, and it's so ingrained in like the left-leaning media that we have in Canadian mainstream media, but also in like Hollywood. It's just everywhere. Like it would take a campaign worth like billions to cover everywhere, I think, for it to make these type of people think twice.
Wow. That is striking. It's hard to ignore the element of the student rowdiness on campus and all that. In 5, 10 years from now, those students will be members of parliament and police officers, etc. Some of them are already. We saw with the Toronto police. Uh, do you see any
Mhm.
hope of this going through the ballot? Do you see if Pierre Poilievre wins? Do you see a major change, a small
Mm.
change?
I see a slow change if he comes to
Mhm.
power. Um, and I really like Pierre for how he's handled things since October 7th. He's adamantly stood with the Jewish community. The first time I met Pierre was actually on Parliament Hill, December 2023,
Mhm.
um, at the Rally for the Jewish People. And he didn't come, he wasn't a speaker, he wasn't, officially a part of the event.
Mhm.
Um, he just came out to speak to the crowd, to hear their
Mhm.
pain, to comfort people. And I didn't see any liberal representative come out and walk amongst the people and do all that. Um, and I'll never forget,
Wow.
I had a little Israeli flag in my bag that fell on the ground, and he was so quick to just grab and like get it off the ground and pick it up. Um, and I've met a lot of politicians through my activism over the last few years, and a lot of them are really good at, shaking your hand, looking in the eye, doing that. But there's an element of humanity in him that I don't think can be faked. And with someone like that, and with how he has taken his stance in favor of the Jewish community, um, I believe it to be genuine. Also, his deputy PM, who would have been deputy PM had the election gone the right way, is a member of the Jewish community as well. So
Wow.
I do believe that if he were to take a leadership role, it would have a ripple effect of influence. I mean, not only on his own MPs and his party, but I definitely think it would affect some policing because, as far as we know, their orders are coming from the top. Their bias is too obvious to not be politically motivated. Um, I can't remember what the question was because I just
Well,
started gabbing
so,
about Pierre, and so I'm just like,
no, that
yeah,
was a great answer. The question was if things would change if he, through policy when he was elected. A
yeah,
different question. I'm not sure if you've ever seen her. There's I think she's like on a more of a local level politician in Germany. Carolina Preisler,
of
uh,
course, yeah, yeah,
where
yeah, yeah.
she like stands there and is brave, and it's so striking the similarity between what you do in Canada, what she does there.
Mhm.
What's your message to brave non-Jews who are thinking of standing out there? What impact have you seen from standing there in front of a whole mob and just standing against hate? What would be your pitch or your message to people who are thinking of it and are like, wait, do I really want to do this? Is it too scary?
Mhm. Well, she really inspired me. One of the first things I did that kind of caught virality or whatever is I stood up to a small crowd in my hometown. Really pisses me off when it happens in my town because we're not Toronto or
Mhm.
Ottawa. Like it was happening in my hometown. So I took a sign and I went and
Hmm.
I don't remember what I said, but she really inspired me there because before, whenever I'd done demonstrations, protesting, it's always in a group of people. But she was alone, and I was like, I can do that too. Why the hell not? Um, I don't quite have the poise and grace that she has. I'm a little mouthier. I'm a little more rugged,
Oh,
but
it's like the European versus North American style.
I'm from Peterborough. What are you gonna do? But there is a difference because she's in Germany and the police protect her. And I've said this a couple of times. If Canada wasn't the way that Canada is and the police didn't operate the way the police do here, I would be out there every weekend doing what she does. But I
Wow.
know if I do that, I'm going to get arrested. There's been
Wow.
many an instance where a policeman has said to me, if you don't move, you're going to be arrested for disturbing the peace. They're not going to stand around and protect you the way that they do for her. She's got great cops around her. I see like
Hmm.
the same cop with her almost every week. Like they know what they're
Hmm.
doing, they know she's coming, and they do their jobs. They serve and protect. Whereas here, they go with the path of least resistance. And if there's a lone
Hmm.
protester versus thousands of criminals, they're supporting terrorism, they're criminals.
Hmm.
Um, they're going to go with the path of least resistance, go after the one who's disturbing the peace, as opposed to the hordes of people breaking laws. Um, so yeah, if things were different in Canada, I would be out there all the time. But I can't get arrested. I got cats to feed. It's
Hmm.
not feasible.
But yet
Um,
you do go
but
out, right? It's not like you've never gone out.
I do. It's usually quite impulsive. It's
Hmm.
usually not something I plan. It's usually like, oh, this is happening when I'm in Ottawa. Well, I'm gonna do this.
Hmm.
Um, but I do want more people to get out there. And I've said this before in an interview. If one lone 5'3" woman can go stand with a sign or a flag in front of 10,000 jihadists, so can you. There's no reason why not. It can be risky. I don't want anybody to risk their safety, but I mean, if I can do it, so can you. And it shouldn't just be me.
Wow. Final plug-in because I know you just put out a song and
Oh,
anything you want to share with the world about your music, how you do it, what inspires you, and to let them know they should go check it out. Any word on what it is that inspires you most with your music?
yeah. Um, I've been doing music a long time. I've been writing since I was 11. I've been releasing since I was 22 and playing shows last decade or so. Um, for me, music has always been a passion and it always will be. I'm always going to write, I'm always going to release songs, but it's changed. I think the position that it has in my life has changed a lot over the last few years. Because
Mhm.
before, when I was playing gigs regularly and making, a bit of a career off of it, I really had to hold back. Um,
Mhm.
because there's such a dominant ideology in the arts that
Mhm.
if you want people to go to your shows and you want people to support you and whatnot, you kind of have to just maintain a certain image. And all of that changed in me. All of that changed for me in 2022 when I just decided to speak my truth, if you will. And it was the most freeing, most liberating thing in the world. And it did change music for me because I don't look at it as a career anymore. I don't look to it as a source of income. It's something I'm always gonna do, but there are more important things. And what's going on in the world is more important for me to speak out instead of being quiet for the sake of my art. Always gonna make it, but there's more important things. So, if people want to check out my music, that's cool. It's there. It's always going to be there. I'm always going to be making it. But if people are going to pay attention to me, I'd rather them pay attention to the message right now. And yeah, I don't know how to round that off. But yeah, if you want to check out my music, Scarlett Grace on Spotify, YouTube, all that crap, you can find it on my socials. I've put out 2 singles from my upcoming album. Don't know when I'm going to get around to putting that out fully because I'm so busy with everything else, but it's there. It's always going to be
Wow.
there.
All right. I guess my final message to you is that I came across what you have done to speak out against anti-Semitism. I reached out, and I'm here really to
Mhm.
say thank you. And just imagine how many people are out there that see it, are really inspired, and don't reach out. It's many, many
Mhm.
people, and so I know you've said some people from the Jewish community are expressing things, but it's really so
Mhm.
for everyone who says it, there are 100 who are moved and don't speak out.
Mhm.
But thank you, really, thank you, and you give hope to us as Jews, but also you give hope to Canada because that should be the Canadian response. It should be to stand
It
up for
should
what's
be.
right, for what's decent, and so you're also doing a great
I
service
just
for
hope that
Canada.
if I inspire people at all, it's not just to say thank you. I hope that it inspires people to speak up more. That's why I
Wow.
do it. Because
Mhm.
if they can see me doing it, they can do it too. So I just hope that it helps maybe give people some courage if they're lacking it.
Mhm. Wow. All right. Thank you, Scarlett
Thank
Grace.
you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. An extraordinary musician from Ontario, Peterborough, and a really brave voice against anti-Semitism in Canada. Thank you.
Always.